All right, y'all. So this one, the start off is stop living for applause. That was never really ours. So starting off with the quiet question that we all ask, right? How many times have we thought, if I do this, will they think I'm selfish? What if this disappoints somebody? What will people say? We don't think it out loud. It's not dramatic, but it's just that quiet inner self-critic that's talking to us before we make a decision, right? The pause, the hesitation, that's approval sneaking into our driver's seat. And most of us don't even realize when it's happening to us. So dealing with how approval becomes the default. No one wakes up one day and decides, I'm going to live my life for everybody else, right? We don't wake up and have this conscious thought where we think that. But it happens slowly. You get praised for being easy, being agreeable, right? We become agreeable because of that. You get love when you're helpful, so you become useful. You get attention when you perform well, so you become impressive. Over time, our brain learns that approval equals safety. So we start editing ourselves, not because we're fake, but just because we want to belong, right? It all comes from a place, and it happens slowly, not even a way that we realize, but suddenly our brain has been wired to seek a comfortable level by allowing boundaries and stuff like that to shift just because we want that, right? An example of this can be like we agree to plans that we're too exhausted for, right? So you tell yourself it's fine, like it's not a big deal, but your body already knew the answer before your mouth did. And that's not kindness, that's conditioning. So when approval replaces identity is where it gets dangerous. When approval becomes our compass, we stop asking, what do I want? And you start asking, what would make me acceptable? You pick careers that look good. You stay quiet to keep the peace. You delay dreams because they're too much or they're too risky. You don't post something you love because it might not perform well. People do that all the time, right? There's a reason I have a huge pile of drafts sitting in my TikTok, because maybe somebody else isn't going to think I look the best in that. Maybe somebody else is going to think, it's not going to do well, so why even post it to begin with? You don't wear the outfit that we adore because it might stand out. It might not fit in. We don't speak up because we don't want to be that person. Slowly, our lives can start to feel tight. Not wrong, but constrained. Like we're living in a version of ourselves that fits everyone else better than it fits us. Exactly, Mark, exactly. It can be so easy. I mean, heck, even with live stream, people probably have feelings sometimes like you just want a night off. And just so you know, I am always okay with that. And you do not need to tell me when or why or if you ever need a night to yourself away from this stuff. Maybe sometimes it's your safe place, and maybe it's sometimes a thing that you feel like you have to show up for me, for somebody else in this chat, for the approval of the team or things like that. Just so you know, that is never something that is expected here. Like it can be something that simple. Not saying that's how you feel. That's just an example that I'm trying to give of, like, people may feel like they have to show up every day. You don't. Same way as I don't. When I have days that I need off, you guys are the first ones to be there and support me, being like, yes, take a day off. Don't say sorry. Enjoy. So there's an emotional cost that comes with this, right? That kind of nobody talks about. Living for approval, it doesn't just drain confidence. You start thinking, why does no one notice how much I give? Why do I feel unappreciated? Why am I exhausted all the time? Because you're pouring from a cup that's you're not allowed to refill, right? So you say yes all week. You show up. You support everyone else. And then one day, somebody doesn't notice or somebody doesn't thank you, and suddenly we feel invisible. That hurt. It's not about them. That's about how long we have been abandoning ourselves, right? So how do we change everything? Confidence shifts the moment that we realize the truth of no amount of external approval can replace internal alignment. You can be loved and still feel lost. You can be praised and still feel empty. You can be applauded and still feel unseen, because applause does not equal peace. You accomplish something huge. Say you accomplished something so huge. Instead of joy, you feel pressure, because now you have to keep proving yourself. And that's not confidence, but that's survival. And that's something that I even realized in my pageant journey recently, right? I accomplished something huge. I win Miss Utah. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Where some people may just be reveling in that win for themselves, I'm applying pressure every single day to practice, to show up, to get this in, because I know if there's one day I take off, when I don't get the desired outcome, I'm going to look at it and be like, but if that one day I took off, I would have worked harder. If I would have just done a little more. I was in survival in something that should be filled with joy, but instead I filled it with pressure. It's not confidence, that was survival. So we have to choose alignment over approval. Real confidence is a lot quieter than we think. I say this a lot. It's not loud. It's not, this loud defiance or the person who can be the biggest in the room. It's calm self-trust, right? And it sounds like, this doesn't work for me. I need more time. That's not aligned with who I am. And yes, some people are not going to like it. But here's the truth. The right people won't punish you for having boundaries. That's how we find the right people in our lives that do stick around, right? I mean, I have found the reason that we have some of the greatest people in this live stream is because I have stood strong on things that, I'm not okay with. I have been like, this doesn't work in our stream. Not a fan of that. I need time for myself. That's what allowed us to keep being here, and my emotions not to come out on live stream. And when I'm like, that's not aligned with who I am, guess what? I left an agency. So some people didn't like that, and that's cool. But that did help me find the people who wouldn't punish me for having boundaries. And those are the exact people who are in this live stream right now. So you can apply that to other areas of your life as well, right? And see what happens. Sometimes, again, like we may overthink and have fear in advance of doing that, but we haven't tried it yet. And I guarantee you most of the people in here will always respect your boundaries, and it's worth establishing that at the beginning before we build heavy connections with people that create that feeling of losing them, if that makes sense. So if we can start off boundaries earlier in the beginning, it makes it a lot easier. Because it's hard later on. It's really hard later on to pull back when you've already had it. Mark, let's go. So here is my little reflection for this. Ask yourself, where in my life am I choosing approval over honesty? Ask yourself, what version of myself feels safest but smallest? And then ask yourself, what would change if I trusted my own judgment? So a reminder, you don't need to answer these perfectly. You just need to answer them honestly. There is no perfect answer, right? Because the perfect answer is whatever your answer is. You don't need to feel like it fits into that box, and maybe you don't even have a full answer yet, and that's something you can think on. But you just have to be honest with yourself. So the next part is rebuilding confidence from the inside. Confidence isn't built by being liked, right? It's built by being consistent with ourselves. Consistency is key with everything. Whether we want to set a goal, whether we want to achieve something, whatever it is, consistency is key. Good job, Mimi. I'm so glad. Heck yeah, let's go. So every time that we say no when you mean no, say yes when you're excited, choose rest without guilt, speak your truth without rehearsing, you can send yourself a message of saying, I can trust me. And trust is the backbone of confidence at the end of the day. So come home to yourself. The truth is I want you to leave this lesson with, you don't need permission to live a life that feels good to you. You were never meant to be in a performance, in a state of performance. You were meant to be a home. And the moment that you stop asking, do they approve, and start asking, am I proud of this choice? That's the moment confidence stops being something that you chase and becomes something that you live. So some skills to follow up this part with, I want to talk about like awareness, seeing where approval shows up. You can't change what you don't notice, right? So it's often very unconscious. And this part helps people recognize patterns and not like judge yourself. Yes, exactly, AJ. Approval isn't a flaw. Just so you all know, wanting approval in any way, shape, or form ever is not a flaw. It's something that is learned throughout our lives. And awareness is the moment that we give ourselves that power back. So use this line for yourself. If your first thought is, what will they think? That's your clue. And this can be, other examples of this can be over explaining decisions. I do this a lot. I do this a ton. I over explain everything. Remember, we don't always owe people an explanation, right? Your choice is your choice, and that's okay, and we can end it there. And that's something that I'm learning all the time. I over explain scenarios or why I can't do something or why I can't be there all the time. I always have to over explain. Saying yes when you feel dread. Feeling anxious after setting a boundary, or checking reactions before checking in with ourselves. And I think a lot of us do that. A lot of us, it's very easy. Instead of like checking in, like, am I proud of myself for this decision? We look. I do this over so many little things. I'll mention like wanting a treat that I know I'm not supposed to have. And I look for people almost to tell me that like I can have it, instead of like asking myself, is this a decision that's moving me closer to my goal? Is this a decision that I'm going to be happy with tomorrow? Yes, Mark. We all do it. We all do it. These are all things we all do, you know? But that is such an easy way to show too, like the checking reactions before checking in with ourselves. We should be asking, is this decision I'm making something as simple as like wanting a snack? I always am looking. I'm always looking for someone's approval that yes, you can have that, instead of looking for my own approval of, is this moving me closer to my goal? So some journal prompts to go with this. I want you to invite silence and ask yourself, like, where in my life am I most craving approval right now? Is it work, relationships, social media, body image, choices, whatever it is? And what do I fear would happen if I disappointed someone? Maybe they make fun of me. Maybe they tell me I'm not good enough. Maybe I lose that friendship. Maybe, you know, whatever it is. Maybe I make things harder for myself at work. Whatever it is. What do we fear would happen if we disappointed someone? And then ask yourself, when was the last time I ignored my own needs to keep the peace? And I did that a lot at the beginning of my live stream journey. I just wanted to keep the peace in here, and I would ignore my own needs of like what was coming in and what made me uncomfortable, just to like keep the peace online and not to stir anything up. Guess what? Burned that bridge, and I'm so much happier since. And then ask yourself, whose approval did I learn to seek first when growing up? Was it your parents? Was it a siblings? Was it friends? Like, who was the first person that we can remember wanting our approval from? Yeah, siblings a lot of the time. Yeah. So awareness is not a call to change everything today. Remember that. But it's an invitation just to listen to ourselves. An invitation to listen. It's not this like, I'm not calling you to take all of this action this very moment. It's just an invitation to listen. AirPods connected. All right. Am I here now? Can you guys hear me now? I'll restart from our second one. Oh. Wait. Maybe. 1, 2, 3. Yay. Okay. I just slid out and slid back in. We're good. Alrighty. So going back to boundaries, which is where I started. So choosing alignment over applause. Basically what I said is confidence grows every time that you honor yourself. Boundaries are not walls, but they are clarity. So people pleasing feels like safety, but creates resentment. Boundaries are how you protect your energy and not punish others. So using this line for ourselves, if you're exhausted, it's not because you care too much, it's because you care without limits. Right? I think sometimes we think, oh, I just care too much. I'm tired of being unappreciated because I just care too much. I care too much. My emotions are too into this. The reality is you don't care too much, but you care too much without limit. It goes everywhere. We don't have any walls for ourselves to care with inside of. You can fill those walls, but when we fill the entire world, of course we're going to be exhausted. So examples of when we do this is like saying yes and then we resent that choice later. Apologizing for having needs, right? You don't need to apologize for needing or wanting something in your life. Feeling guilty for resting. Listen to your body. Take rest when you need it, right? Don't tear yourself down for a day that you may be a little lazy. Guess what? There's so many days that I'm like, it would have been so important for me to get up and do this task today, but my body was not there. And guess what? That is your mind and brain saying that, like, take a minute, take a break. Don't feel guilty for that. Don't feel guilty for listening to yourself. And also feeling responsible for others' emotions. That creates a lot of resentment, first of all. That's something that I myself have struggled with. Part of the reason why I need breaks from live stream every once in a while too. It's very exhausting because I care so much for people on here that I don't create limits for myself of like how far that's going. And I have opened up myself to so much trauma dumping and other stuff like that, where I'm like, man, I'm 21 and I feel like I'm responsible for so many people's mental well-being that it either creates resentments or emotions that I myself don't know how to handle. And so that's something I'm even working on right now, right? Something even I'm working on. So some journaling prompts to go along with this method or this portion. Ask yourself, where do I feel the most resentment in my life right now? Resentment is a boundary that wasn't honored, right? So that's a boundary that's not being honored for ourselves. Ask yourself, what do I say yes to that I wish I could say no to? And what stops me? Analyze that. Ask yourself, what does my body feel like when I'm out of alignment? Do we feel anxiety, fatigue, irritability, tight chest? Like what we got to analyze this, right? And then ask yourself, what would it look like to set one gentle boundary this week? But we got to keep it small and realistic. Exactly, AJ. You don't need to explain your boundaries to deserve having them. You do not need to explain your boundaries to deserve having them. Right? You don't need to explain yourself to anybody. You don't need to explain why maybe you're not replying on a certain day to anybody, because you don't owe people that, right? You can have that boundary regardless. You don't need to explain to people why you're taking a step back from a scenario. Maybe it's TikTok that you took a step back, but you do not need to explain these boundaries that you're working on and setting for yourself, why you have stopped contacting a coworker as much. You do not need to explain these boundaries to other people because you deserve them at the end of the day. So the next part is identity, reclaiming our self-trust and confidence. The most important relationship that you will ever have in this entire world is with yourself. So confidence is not about like bravado, but it's self-trust built through action. And we hear this a lot, right? Confidence grows when your words and your actions match. Every alignment choice strengthens identity. It builds trust, right? Words, actions, when they match, we're like, wow, I followed through on what I say. We do it. Wow, I have this self-trust. So self-trust is built in the quiet moments when absolutely nobody else is watching, when it's just us and what we know. Mark. Love it, love it. So examples of like how and when we do this is when we second guess ourselves constantly. I'll tell you guys the story. I was so bad at second guessing myself. I'm a terrible test taker. I was so bad at second guessing myself that I didn't listen to myself, and it really played into when I would take tests in high school. I could get 100% on every single assignment. But when it came to a test, I had a teacher look into why I was struggling, and she could see how many times I changed my answer, 16 times on one answer alone, and she was like, and it shows me you had it right the first time. Sometimes you have to trust yourself more than second guess, right? Because oftentimes you're right the first time in your gut feelings. Absolutely, AJ, absolutely. Feeling disconnected from your own desires, looking for others' reassurance, being afraid to change because people expect the old you or something out of you. I remember feeling that way a lot, like in school growing up and stuff, that like people expected like a certain version of me, and so I couldn't change and grow into a better version of myself because I felt like people just had this image of me. Why can't I change that image? Why can't I change that image for myself and for them and create a better version of myself every single day, right? But I felt stuck in those ways. So some questions to ask ourselves for our journaling prompts is ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching and no one is judging me? What do I enjoy? What feels natural? Ask yourself, what decisions in my past am I proud of because they honored me, right? What decisions are we proud of? Wait. But that's the thing is, realistically, most people don't expect anything from you. People don't. Those are expectations we've placed on them ourselves. And if they do, guess what? Set a boundary that we don't live for their expectations, you know? Ask yourself, where in my life do I want to rebuild trust with myself? Where is somewhere that maybe we've slacked on that, again, maybe like the word I'm used that leads to spiraling or things like that? Where is that area that is leading to that right now? And where do I want to rebuild that trust with myself? Is it through rest, honesty, boundaries, dreams, whatever it is? Let's find that moment. What promise can I make to myself this week and keep? Confidence grows when promises are kept. Every single time that you choose yourself, you become someone that you can rely on. So I have some closing affirmations for the whole end of this lesson, and I think this is a really good one, by the way. But why do you need to get it quicker? It's okay. I mean, I have seen drastic improvement. You may not feel it. I have seen it. I have seen it. So if you need, like, give into a little approval from me right now and let me boost you in that way, but I have seen it. I have seen the way that you have taken steps forward in that area, and it's amazing. See, you see it. That's amazing. Exactly. There's no timeline. There's no timeline. Okay, so some closing affirmations that I want us to say together. Say this out loud with me. Number 1, I do not need permission to be myself. My needs are valid. I trust my inner voice. Alignment matters more than approval. And I choose peace over performance. And those are the affirmations that go with this lesson. But Amit, you're the only one that thinks it's not enough. You're the only one that thinks that. Right? Remember that. Good job, chat. Chat is saying them. Y'all are doing good. Peace over performance, y'all. I will peacefully perform. All right. That is our